There is a perception out there, especially among law enforcement, that people interested and active about criminal justice reform in this country, whether they're conservative or liberal or libertarian, are somehow anti-cop. Given that perception, then, it's an honor to have law enforcement here participating and here in the audience. In their mind, they were kind of walking into a lion's den, which we so often ask them to do. It's important because, for better or worse, I would say worse, the nature of the American criminal justice system limits the amount of accountability and reform that can be injected into law enforcement and criminal justice from the outside, from outside the government, I mean. Police, prosecutors, and judges wield a lot of political power and a lot of power generally. Police enjoy what's known as qualified immunity from suits for behavior that they engage in while performing their duties. Prosecutors and judges enjoy what is called absolute immunity. They cannot be sued by the people they wrong in furtherance of their duty. In terms of prosecutions of police officers are rare and even more rarely successful. Prosecutions of prosecutors and judges are virtually non-existent. So, for better or worse, regardless of what we say here today as people outside the system, a lot of the burden for reform is going to fall on police chiefs and rank-and-file police officers to push for reform and to push for a more constitutional criminal justice system that goes further to upholding the virtues that they swore an oath to. That's not to say, of course, that the burden falls entirely on law enforcement. As many police would point out, the cops don't write the laws. Legislators have a massive obligation to correct systemic problems in our laws. Whether we're talking about repealing failed drug prohibitions. Of course, you guys weren't going to come to a libertarian conference and not hear about ending the drug war. That has utterly failed, that it provides virtually no return on the massive investment of manpower, of blood and treasure invested in this unwinnable war. Whether we're talking about abolishing civil asset forfeiture that incentivizes and rewards predatory policing for profit. Or whether we're just talking about ending what seems to be an American fetish for putting people in cages when they do things we don't like. A fetish that has created what is by far the largest prison population on the face of the earth. Our elected representatives, given those facts, have a lot of reforming to do. We heard today from many of the panelists about new technologies, whether they be body cameras, whether we're talking about Stingray surveillance devices, and the complete lack of legislative, statutory policies governing these devices, governing how they're used, governing how people are held accountable for misusing them. The legislatures at the state and federal level are not doing their job. But they are, in the end, our elected representatives. They're elected by us. Earlier, an audience member asked what we have to do to get people to care about issues and abuses that don't directly affect them. Many of the people in this room will never have these negative interactions with law enforcement that we heard some of the panelists speak about. How do we get non-Muslims to care about how the government treats the Muslim community? How do we get white suburban America to care what the government is doing in the inner city or along the border to people who don't look like we might, or don't speak the same language, or don't call God by the same name? That, I think, really gets at the heart of what this conference is about and what the issue is about. We have ideas. We have data. Emily just provided a glimpse of some great data that we're compiling here at Cato. But where do we get the political momentum to put these reforms and this data and these ideas into action? As Emily's data shows, the American people aren't entirely sold that all of the problems we've identified here today are actually problems. While a majority are opposed to racial profiling, a substantial minority of Americans are just fine with police using a person's race to serve as probable cause, or at least suspicion that somebody is involved in criminal behavior. They're not sold that it's time to end drug prohibition. They do seem sold on civil asset forfeiture, which is fantastic, but that has very few defenders these days. The point is, we have a lot of work left to do. We, citizens, not police, not legislators, we citizens have a lot of work to do with our friends, with our families, with our communities to convince them to properly incentivize their government representatives and their local law enforcement that these are problems that need to be addressed. We have a lot of work to do to make the case for a criminal justice system that protects rather than infringes on our constitutional rights, that allows people, regardless of color or creed, to view police officers as guardians rather than occupying soldiers or financial predators, that allows police officers to do the types of noble things they signed up for and swore an oath to do. I said earlier that I hope this would be an annual event. The problems in American policing are big problems, not because the actors in these issues are particularly bad, but because the stakes are so high and the interests are so great. Rarely is the interaction between the government and an individual so tense and so potentially deadly as when a police officer initiates an interaction with an individual. The data on, for instance, police killings has been very sparse in this country, but thanks to the work of organizations like The Guardian, last month we surpassed 1,000 Americans killed by police in 2015. So we're on pace for more than 1,000 people a year in this country killed in interactions with law enforcement. And it's shameful that we have so little data and so much is still unknown about the processes that lead to these deadly interactions. So because these interests are so great, because this is the most tense interaction between the government and its citizens, everyone should take an interest in this. Regardless of your political philosophy, these are issues of life and death. These are issues that strike at the very heart of our constitutional republic, of our community, and everyone has an interest in it. We're not there yet. These problems did not pop up overnight. It took decades, generations, for us to get where we are today. And it may take years, decades, generations to fix these problems. But having distinguished guests from academia, from law enforcement, from policy, from various minority communities that have been targeted over the years by the government, that's a step in the right direction. We can fix it. We have to fix it. This is our problem. So with that, I'll see you next year. Thank you.